What's up, guys? I'm gonna do my my end of the year list. I've never actually done like a proper year-end list. Last year I think I did the top 15 non-metal albums or something of the year, but I'm not exactly sure what I did. To tell you the truth, I didn't care enough to go look. I wasn't gonna do this, but I'm gonna do a real short one of 5 albums. Top 5 albums are just the first 5 that came to my mind when somebody says your favorite albums of the year. I could make this list like 30 or 40 long for sure. It's just I don't want to. I didn't pick it all up, so I'm just not going to. But I'll give you my top 5. So I'll just cut right into it. We're listening to Corpse Norse by Impaled Nazarene. That's a great Swedish black metal album. A little grindy at times, pretty cool. So I'll just cut right into it. Number 5 is Solstafir's album Eneferens. Electarian. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but it's just this epically great sounding post-rock, kind of mixed with that tinges of folk music, and obviously, not directly, but you can obviously hear the influences from their earlier part of their career, which was a lot more of the Icelandic, very odd-sounding black metal. If you know anything about Icelandic black metal, stylistically, they're very one-of-a-kind. For some reason, not really stylistically, but scene-wise, it kind of reminds me of the early Greek scene. It wasn't really directly copying, like, the Swedish scene or the Norwegian scene or whatever was coming out of America, or, you know, it doesn't just steal straight from that. It's a lot more diversified and a lot more honed in on one specific sound, which is different than all the rest. And Solstafir's been a band that's always done great. This right here is my favorite, Ota, but this album is probably a very close second. It's just got this great post-rock feel to it, super atmospheric, and the folk parts of it really shine through on most of the tracks, honestly. It's just, this band has really honed in their awesome post-rock sound, which is a very one-of-a-kind post-rock sound, because a lot of those bands tend to all just kind of sound very similar to one another. So, I'm going to call it that. Solstafir is number 5. Number 4 is Wolves on the Throne Room, Thrice Woven. Thrice Woven is a great record, honestly. It definitely reminds me of a more matured continuation of Celestial Lineage. Matured-wise, meaning it's better produced. It's just a lot more black metal attack rather than that great atmospheric sound. I mean, it's very atmospheric. It's Wolves on the Throne Room, but it has a different sound to it. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about if you've heard the album. It's got similarities to the previous albums, especially Celestial Lineage in my opinion, but it's different, and it's a completely new breath of fresh air for Wolves on the Throne Room. Now, they're one of the bands that I've been worshiping since I got into black metal, since I was, I don't know, about 14. I mean, TBDM and 12 Stars is just godly. 2 Hunters, Celestial Lineage, every album they've put out's great. Even Celestite, even though it's a weird, ambient, spacey album, but it's really awesome. And Thrice Woven is a good, logical progression, I think. They're getting a little older. They're taking influences a lot more from the old school, I would assume, from how this album came out. And it turned out to be a really cool album. I feel like a lot of people were going into it expecting more of the same, and I feel like that's why it wasn't as beloved as the previous albums. I mean, TBDM with 12 Stars is definitely hard to beat, but it's a great album nonetheless. I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of Wolves in the Throne Room, and I can't wait to hear their next release. Also, I get to see them in February with Enslaved, Merker, and Chemist. Don't care about Merker, don't really know Chemist, but I love Enslaved, and I love Wolves in the Throne Room. So I'm really excited to see that show. So thanks, Sam, for buying me the ticket for Christmas. Now I gotta find people to go. Hopefully you'll go. So, number 3 is Goatmoon's album Stella Polaris. Now, Stella Polaris, I got it right here. I'm sure you guys have known it for reference. Stella Polaris. It is NS. I don't really care. I try to separate the art from the artists, because I feel like if you're condemning them for their beliefs, you're just as bad as what they're doing, because that's exactly what they're doing. I feel like you gotta tolerate other people's ideologies rather than, follow them. Do your own thing. But this album is one of the most diverse Goatmoon albums there is. You got little pieces from everything that they've ever done. You got these, like, typical folk black metal, awesome Goatmoon styles, his awesome feral mountain dweller vocals, his little tinges of his early, more raw black metal stuff, more on the Satanic Warmaster sound side. You got just all kinds of good stuff going on with this album. The ending track is definitely an acquired taste, I'd say. It's like, it sounds like a Motley Crue ballad, pretty much, but with his terrible clean singing with it. But it is a very awesome album. I would definitely check it out if you haven't heard Goatmoon Stone Polaris, if you can get past the NS thing. If you can't, I understand. That is a pretty dividing topic in the black metal community, I think. But Stone Polaris is a great album. It's not as good as Voitel Valhalla, but it is pretty good. So that's number 3. And number 2 is Vigilance Perennial by Falls of Rauros. Falls of Rauros is a fucking godly band. One of the greatest American metal bands, not just black metal bands to ever exist. They know their instruments so well. They know how to write good songs. They just know good music. They write great compositions. The twin guitars weave together very well. The dual vocals, although they're stylistically the same, they have different voices, and if you know the band well enough, you could definitely tell them apart as to who's doing what part of the vocals. And the compositions are great. The 4th track on the album has my solo of the year, Travis. I entered that in your contest. It's this great classical harmony, almost classical sounding harmony guitar solo, and it's amazing. This band can do no wrong, in my opinion. I love everything they've ever put out. I've heard everything pretty much, and it's amazing. I think this might be better than The Light That Dwells in Rotten Wood, which is a limb to go out on for me, because that is, I hold, like, high regards for that album. Super high regards. I'm a huge fan of Falls of Rauros, and I'm really glad to see that they put out another great record, because I would expect nothing less from them. Seeing them, they played about half their set for an hour. They played about half of the album, approximately, and it just blew me away. So, that's number 2, Vigilance Perennial by Falls of Rauros. And number 1, it's one I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, because it's not metal. I said it before, and I'll say it again. It's God's Problem Child by Willie Nelson. If you know me, you know I have an insane boner for Willie Nelson. It's just an amazing, amazing release. If you don't know Willie Nelson, go check it out. Listen to this album. It's definitely like a very sad album. You could tell that there's a good possibility that it would be his last studio album. And that's a sad thought for me, because he is one of my favorite musicians of all time. But there's nothing I could do about it. He has great features from guys like Jamie Johnson on it, and it's a nice long, about an hour, a little over an hour album. So that'd be awesome. So, also, I forgot to do them in the beginning. I had a couple of just honorable mentions that I felt like I needed to throw there. Both Colter Wall EPs are awesome. If you don't know Colter Wall, he's a folk country singer from Canada. Black Dahlia Murder's album Nightbringer is definitely a great album. The newest Eneferens EP would be somewhere in here, even though it's an EP, so I couldn't put that in here, else it would probably have been in the top 5. It's just a couple stuff like that. I mean, you guys know my taste, you guys know what I like, you know what I like to listen to, so you guys could probably make your own assumptions as to what else would be in there. So I hope you guys enjoyed my list. I'd love to see your guys' list, and keep it greasy, have a good new year, all that shit. See ya.